Hello children, how are you? Hope good. This is Shahab Khan and I'm back with my new ICSE video on my YouTube channel Urban Learning Way UL Way. We have not progressed much in Act 2, but what we have studied so far suggests that the pace of the play has picked up as the conspirators have become more active and they do not want any delay in their action against Caesar. Okay? Right. And what did we study in the previous video? We had studied that Brutus reads the letter brought by Lucius and he relates it with the other letters that had been sent to him. He concludes that all the people, all the citizens of Rome who had sent the letters to him were asking the same thing from him, that is to act against Caesar, to take action against Caesar. He decides that he would take action against Caesar and he would do it with his own hands. He also mentions that since the time Cassius started to instigate him against Caesar, he has become restless and has not slept properly because the faculties of his mind and heart were at conflict with each other, contemplating, communicating what should be done in the present scenario. That made him lose his peace of mind. Okay, so that is what we studied in the previous video. Let's start the text from where we left in the last video. Enter Lucius. Lucius, sir, 'tis your brother Cassius at the door, who doth desire to see you. Brutus, is he alone? Lucius, no, sir, there are more with him. Brutus, do you know them? Lucius, no, sir, their hats are plucked about their ears, and half their faces buried in their cloaks, that by no means I may discover them by any mark of favor. Brutus, let them enter. Exit Lucius. They are the faction, O conspiracy. Shamest thou to show thy dangerous brow by night, when evils are most free? O then by day, where wilt thou find a cavern dark enough to mark thy monstrous visage? Seek none, conspiracy. Hide it in smiles and affability. For if thou path thy native semblance on, not Erebus itself were dim enough to hide thee from prevention. Lucius comes back and says it was his brother-in-law Cassius who was at the door. You might be aware that Cassius was the husband of Brutus's stepsister, Junia Tertia. Brutus asks Lucius whether he was alone. Lucius says no, he was not alone. There were others with him. Then Brutus asks him if he knew them. Lucius says no. He could not recognize them because they had their hats pulled over their faces and their faces were half buried in their cloaks. That means they had pulled their cloaks up over their faces so that they could not be recognized. Brutus asks Lucius to go and fetch them in. Lucius exits. Brutus then says, they are the conspirators, and he uses the word "O conspiracy" for them. He says, if they are so ashamed, and he wonders whether if they were so ashamed of themselves that they could not show their faces even at night when the evil is most, even and all bad things are at a liberty. He says, if that was the case, where would they find a cave dark enough to hide their faces? He says the conspiracy, that is the conspirators, should not try to find a dark cave. Rather, they should try to hide their intentions, which is obviously revealed through the faces, in smiles and in good behavior. In friendliness, they should try to hide their intentions, their faces. He says, Brutus continues and says, yes, indeed, there was a need to hide their intentions. But why was the need to hide the intentions? Because if that was exposed, no place would be safe enough for them to be found out. No place would be safe enough for them to be found out and prevented from doing what they wanted to do. Enter the conspirators: Cassius, Casca, Decius, Cinna, Metellus, Cimber, and Trebonius. Cassius, I think we are too bold upon your risk. Good morrow, Brutus, do we trouble you? Brutus, I have been up this hour awake all night. Know I these men that come along with you? Yes, every man of them, and no man here but honors you, and every one doth wish you had but that opinion of yourself which every noble Roman bears of you. This is Trebonius. Brutus, he is welcome hither. Cassius, this Decius Brutus, he is welcome too, Brutus says. Cassius, this Casca, this Cinna, and this Metellus Cimber. Brutus, they are all welcome. What watchful cares do interpose themselves betwixt your eyes and night? Cassius, shall I entreat a word? Brutus and Cassius whisper. So the conspirator, that is Cassius, Casca, Cinna, Metellus Cimber, Trebonius, enter. And Cassius says whether they were interrupting his sleep and asks Brutus whether they were bothering him. Cassius said that they were interrupting his sleep and asked Brutus whether they were bothering him. Brutus says he was anyway awake and asks Cassius who were the others who had come along with him. Cassius says that he knew every one of them and every one of them admired him. And every one of them, everyone who had come along with him, wished that Brutus had the same opinion of himself as every noble Roman man has. And he introduces Trebonius. Brutus said that he was welcome here. Then he points toward Decius Brutus and says, "This is Decius Brutus." Brutus says he was welcome here. He was also welcome. Then Cassius introduces everyone else: Casca, Cinna, Metellus, Timber. Brutus says all of them were welcome and asks what was the worry that had kept them awake this night. At that moment, Cassius asks Brutus whether they could have a private conversation. Brutus agrees and they move aside, step aside, and start whispering and start talking to each other in whispers, which others, the conspirators and the audience, could not hear. Cassius Decius, here lies the east, doth not the day break here? Casca, no. Cinna, oh pardon, sir, it doth, and yon grey lines that fed the clouds are messengers of day. Casca, you shall confess that you are both deceived. Here, as I point my sword, the sun arises, which is a great way growing on the south, weighing the youthful season of the year. Some 2 months hence up, higher toward the north, he first presents his fire, and the highest stands at the capital directly here. Okay. So when Brutus and Cassius they started to have their private conversation in whispers, which they could not hear, the others started to have their own chit chat and conversation. Decius Brutus points out in the direction of east and says, "This is east," and he says whether the daybreak was about to happen. Whether the daybreak was about to happen, was the day about to break? Casca says no, but Cinna says, "Oh, pardon me, sir. The grey lines surrounding the clouds are signs of the impending dawn. They are messengers of the coming dawn." Casca says, "Soon both of you will be mistaken, and soon both of you will admit that you were mistaken." Casca says that soon both of you will admit that you were mistaken. He takes out his sword and points it directly in the southeast direction and says, "It is here, in the direction where he was pointing his sword, up in the sky, that the sun would rise from it." He was pointing toward the southeast direction. He says that it is in this direction where he was pointing his sword in the south that the sun would rise from, because it was early part of the year. It was winter, still winter. Winter had not gone yet. Okay. You might be aware that the sun does not rise exactly from the same point every day. Not exactly from the same point. In the same direction, same place, but not exactly the same point. It is because of the tilt of the earth and rotation of the earth around the sun that the sun appears more towards the southeast in the winter months and towards the northeast in the summer months. Okay. When I say this, not to be confused that they are diametrically opposite points on the sky. This is just a slight variation here and there. Okay. And you don't need to pay much attention to this, not of much relevance to the context of the play. Casca says 2 months from now, the light of dawn will come up further in the north. East is exactly where the capital stands. He points his direction and says, "This is the direction where east is." He was pointing in the direction of the capital. Okay. So this was about the text. Let's see what figures of the speech we have studied in the passage, or what figures of speech are there in the passage that we have studied. Okay. Oh, conspiracy is said by Brutus to the conspirators when they had come. Okay. And that is apostrophe. Okay. Because Brutus directly addresses conspiracy as if it were a person. This is apostrophe because Brutus directly addresses conspiracy as if it were a person. You know what apostrophe is? When an object is directly addressed as if it were a person, when the speaker knows very well that it can't respond. Okay. Then conspiracy is personification here. Conspiracy has been personified by Cassius when he gives him human features like face and and capable of being ashamed, and it has been given the ability to hide and smile by Brutus. So conspiracy has been personified here by Brutus. Then you have the hidden plot of conspiracies metaphor. Okay, metaphor for the conspirators hidden plot against Caesar is compared to monstrous creature with an evil face. Again, Brutus here, what he has done, he has compared the hidden plot of the conspirators with the monstrous creature which has these bad qualities, bad features and bad qualities. Okay, then Erebus itself wouldn't be dark enough. Obviously hyperbole, because there's exaggeration to emphasize that the darkest place on earth would not be able to hide them if they do not hide their intentions. If they are not able to hide their intentions, and they reveal their uh, inner feelings through their face and behavior. So in that scenario, they won't be able to hide themselves anywhere, not even Erebus, that is hell. Okay, so obviously this is exaggeration and it is hyperbole. So that's it, children. In this passage that we have studied, it was not of much significance, just showed the bonhomie of the characters. Okay, so that's it, children. I hope you have understood the things well. If you have any doubts, you can post it in the comment section. Keep watching, keep liking, and keep subscribing to my channel. Thanks for watching the video.